Good evening, I'm Jeff Koinange, and this is Jeff Koinange Live. Tonight is Thursday, the first Thursday of 2016. It's all about inspiration. And by the way, we are live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski, our new home for 2016. And tonight I chose a guest who the way I can describe him is he calls it like he sees it, without fear of favor. And we're talking about everything from overlapping, and we're very familiar with this as Kenyans, to throwing garbage out your window, to mannerisms. It's called Uungwana, an initiative begun more than a decade and a half ago, behaving badly. And we do that very well as Kenyans. And we want to turn that around. Maybe 2016 will be the year we can try and turn that around, because let's face it, we do behave badly. So, Ken Njiru, who's been doing this from corporates to schools to private, public sector, he talks to everybody who will listen about behavioral issues. That's what we need to get back on track as Kenyans. And the other reason I brought him back on the show, we share the same birthday. Today, Ken and I. By the way, all of you who sent me birthday greetings, me, Baba, Julie Gishuru, Frederick Okango, all those people, thank you for your birthday wishes. Appreciate it. It's a milestone, 50, 50, and counting. So, Twitter handles, at Uungwana Kenya. Mine is at Koinange Jeff. Let us use the hashtag Uungwana with 2 U's tonight. Uungwana. My guest, who turns 49 today, Ken Njiru.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, brother.
Yeah.
It's good to see you,
and
man.
going strong. I can feel the power in you.
I'm 1 year ahead of you, man. I'm still your senior.
Yeah. I salute you.
I'm 50.
I salute, and I defer.
50.
50. Woo! Jeff at 50.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
How are you feeling?
I feel great.
Do you feel 50?
I feel like this is part 2 of my life.
Woo! And you look it. You look it.
Good to see you, Ken.
Asante.
And you know, throughout my holidays, by the way, I spent my holidays in Kilifi County.
Yes.
Kilifi County.
Yeah.
And one day, my in-laws, my sister-in-laws, were driving in their car. The car ahead of them, someone threw out a nazi. After they had sucked off all the juice and everything, they threw the nazi out the window.
That's a rock.
Slammed their car.
Oh my God. Ushenzi. That's what Ushenzi Kamini.
Can you imagine?
And others, by the way, along the Thika, the Nakuru Road.
Yeah.
After they buy yogurt from Dalamere,
yes,
they actually throw the can out, and apparently there was a man whose window was hit by one of those containers.
Cans, yeah.
Yes, and it's splattered on the windscreen. You can imagine how dangerous that is. And these are the things we're saying. Ushenzi, small Ushenzi, big Ushenzi. I think this is a year to start now tightening the nuts and start saying we're tired of Ushenzi. Yeah. Whatever its dimension. And whatever it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ken, and I know you've been doing this for quite a few years, right?
Yeah.
Does it frustrate you because you do one thing, people conform for like 2.5 minutes, and then they go back to their basic instinct?
Jeff, I think I thank God for giving me the grace. Initially I used to get frustrated, but slowly as I came to appreciate what change means, and behavior change, more so even at a national level or even at an organizational level, you start realizing that change takes long. I mean, a lot of these behaviors have taken us 50 years, and there's no way they're going to change in 1 year. But I then came to appreciate that there are processes which we must take organizations, even take nations through. Indeed, many times when I cite people like Nyerere, I classify them as behavior change champions. That's what they were. Moving Tanzania from what it was to this Ujamaa country where everybody talks, politely. Naomba unyuzie maji. As Kenyans are saying, leta maji, later. Eating the table like it's yours. And I don't know if I ever told my story. I once went to Dodoma.
Yes.
And I said, leta maji. The waiter passed.
Yeah.
when she
Ignored
came,
you.
ignored me. When she came back, I said, si nilisema ulete maji. She passed again. And the Tanzanian told me, nyinyi wa Kenya, tabia mbovu, hamuna heshima, unasema leta maji ni yako. And so I then, remembered I was in Tanzania. I said, naomba uniuzie maji, and the water came. But if you think about it, that is what we call civility, and to a large extent, it is largely lacking in this country.
Yeah.
But one thing I want to say, Jeff, is that I'm excited from where I sit. I mean, when I set out, almost more than a decade ago, many people thought I was crazy. What is this Uungwana thing you're talking about?
Correct.
In fact, I remember one of my friends asking me, is that Ujamaa? But so many years later, for instance, I was also at the coast of a Christmas and New Year's. Just everywhere I went, whether it's Mombasa town, I remember being in Mutwapa. I was asking somebody, there was a noise that was, my car was making. So I told this guy, can you check what noise that is? And this guy comes with a bike and says, usikanichukulia vibaya, lakini wewe ni ule jamaa wa Uungwana? Nikasema ndio. Ninyi unakuanga na Jeff? Nikasema ndio. The man said, tunakuambia Mungu, unafanya kazi mzuri. And Jeff, it's been happening.
A guy on a border.
On a border. In Mutitwandai, the same thing. The guy who's adding more gas into my car.
Yes.
The same thing. And that tells me that people are listening.
Yes.
And people are excited about the possibility of a national transformation.
Yeah.
And I even, at the hotel I was staying in, one professor from South Africa again stopped me and said, Mr. Njiru, he actually called me by my name, Ken Njiru. I said, yes. He says, you don't know me, but I watched that program in South Africa, and I hope he's watching. How are you?
Yeah.
Plus even his family.
Yes.
And he says, he told me they watch with the whole family. I came, he took me to say hello to his wife, and something stirred up in me, and something told me, keep going.
Yeah.
And that is what keeps me going.
Yeah.
As we were closing the year, I was invited to talk to the Elgeyo Marakwet County Assembly by Speaker Koche. And what was interesting was the uptake of Uungwana. And I'm told until today, the MCAs, by the way, are very excited about it, and are actually talking about building, an Uungwana Elgeyo Marakwet. So it is not so much, many times we bash MCAs and say, they don't behave well.
Yeah,
I've come to fundamentally believe that the human being essentially is not a bad person. Our DNA is not a rotten DNA. I've come to fundamentally believe that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, all of us. But sometimes nations start losing that sense. More so when the leadership in its collectivity, by the way, not just political leaders, I'm talking about we fathers in our homes. I keep on saying, even at a very basic level, instead of correcting your child when your child has done wrong, unamwambia we ng'ombe ama we mjinga kama mama yako. The minute you do that, you're destroying that child. That is not what leadership is all about. All right? Right down to the corporate level, where you're not leading people to the extent that they are liberating their creative energies. You are the beginning and the end of everything. A hotel like this, and by the way, may I ask, by the way, were you upgrading JKL as you're coming to Kempinski? What was it about?
Obama stayed here.
Obama stayed here.
Yeah.
Oh.
And the Pope.
Did you sit here?
No.
Don't worry, next time. Next time he'll
But
sit.
listen, Ken, real quick.
Yeah.
Last night I had the governor of Machakos on the bench.
Yes.
Dr. Alfred Mutua.
Yes.
I mean, a brilliant young 45-year-old man.
Yep.
The more good he does,
yes,
the more hate he gets. Why is that, Ken? Help me out here.
I remember I was watching him and he talked about crabs. That Kenyans are like
Kenyan crabs.
When one crab is trying to get out, pull each other down and everybody dies. Now, this is the Ushenzi software I keep talking about. And I've said many times on this program, and again I've come to appreciate, in fact it's been said that for change to stick, and this is important for you even as a father, for change to stick, you must repeat something at least 7 times. Keep repeating it, keep repeating it. The core problem, the fundamental problem for Kenya right now, by the way, is not even infrastructure. Infrastructure you must build. It's not buildings like this. It's the human software. And I keep saying, one of the things that keeps ringing in my mind about Moi, he used to say, Mwafrika hajifahamu. And for me that is very fundamental. Know thyself. In fact, if you read history, go to ancient Egypt, go to Greece, on their temples it was written up there, man, know thyself. Because if you don't know yourself, you cannot be what God intended you to be. The problem with the African is an identity crisis. You know, some of us are Portuguese, others are Germans, others are Americans, others are Brits. We are scared of being who we are, right? And I keep saying, if God wanted to make us Brits, He would have made us Brits. And I have no problem against Brits, but it is important for us to become who we are. And by becoming who we are, then we basically ignite, especially from the inside, our total persona, our creativity, our potential across the board, right? And once we get there, then we stop this nonsense of sitting down, breeding like a rabbit, and then expecting everybody to educate your children under what we are calling free primary education. And you're doing nothing. You're not contributing to the commonweal, right? And I keep saying, much as we're talking about this, free primary education, and in my mind, I think it should be called compulsory education, not free education. The parent who begets this child must partake in nation building in whatever sense. If you're a pastoralist, then keep a herd of cows that is so healthy, short of drought, that we're exporting the meat to across the world like they do it in Botswana, rather than trying to tell people that you want to keep a culture of just walking around with your cows, but you expect everybody to keep feeding you.
And then you keep grazing them at the other people's land, creating wars and conflicts.
Yes, and creating wars and conflicts, and calling it culture.
It is a sport.
It is a sport. And then blaming the government for not, let me tell you something. I think, Jeff, we need to grow up as a nation generally.
We're juveniles.
We are juveniles. We behave like juveniles because when the people who do cattle rustling, I'm not going to say the Pokos and the Turukanas because it's not all of them.
Right.
The women are not even in it. Possibly the young people are not in it. But the people within those communities who do cattle rustling, our shenzi is to the extent that they are waiting for the government to come and sit with them so that the government tells them that it is wrong to kill others.
Imagine.
That is what I call ushenzi. I mean, it's akin to the cry I'm hearing now all over Kenya. We want a Magufuli.
Right.
We want a Magufuli.
Yes.
Oh, let's do what
Magufuli does.
What are you waiting for, Jeff? As a waiter in this hotel, what are you waiting for? As a father, as a mother, as a driver on the road, you're waiting for a Magufuli to come and tell you that this is the Uungwana way to drive? And I put it to Kenyans that there is a Magufuli in every one of us. There is an Obama in every one of us. There is a Mandela in every one of us. But many times, like the proverbial lamp that is lit in the Bible, then it's covered. That's what we do to ourselves. Instead of lighting ourselves, we cover ourselves. We start talking about historical injustices. We start talking about how many people are in government and how many people are not. I mean, think about that conversation. And I've said it many times, and I'll repeat it again, because I think these are the non-issues we focus on, and we forget the real issues that will transform this country. Jeff, the Kenya government barely employs 500,000 people, collectively. Every year, 500,000 young people are coming to the job market. And you're busy doing arithmetic of how many people are where, rather than coming up with ideas of how we are going to create a greater nation. And that every time I listen to our politicians talking, especially, I always remember that saying that says, small minds talk about people. Middle minds, if I may put it that way, talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. Like Kennedy, who said by the year 1969 they will put a man on the moon. Tell me how many leaders in this country today are talking about putting a Kenya on the moon? None. It is just ushenzi.
None.
Negativity.
They're talking about 2017. Who's going to run against who?
Yes.
And this scenario, that
community. Scenario. And by the way, that's unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional. Some of the people who claim to be champions of constitutionalism are the ones who are balkanizing this country. Oh, the Kambas will vote. Oh, the Kikuyus. Oh, the Luyas.
Yes.
Ushenzi.
Complete ushenzi.
Total ushenzi.
Completely.
Total ushenzi.
And Ken, I was looking at pictures from Burundi the other day.
Yes.
People send me pictures all the time. My goodness, the stuff that's happening in Burundi.
Let me tell you.
And then that idiot of a president says he's not going to allow AU troops.
And let me tell you something. If one is given to watching, especially international media, looking at Syria, what Syria has become, a rubble. The whole town has been turned upside down.
Damascus.
People are dying of starvation.
In Syria.
They have eaten rats, they have eaten dogs, they've eaten cats. And then somebody like Nkurunziza talks the way he's talking.
Can you imagine?
Another idiot in Kenya says there will be bloodshed.
Can you imagine? Another one says we'll steal the elections.
Yes. We'll steal the
Shakba.
election. We will do whatever we have to do. We'll steal the election.
Can you imagine? Are we mad?
Ushenzi.
Ushenzi kamili.
Tena ushenzi kamili.
Let's take a break, Ken. Let's come back and talk about that. Because you know what? We don't have another Kenya to go to, by the way.
There's only this Kenya.
There's no other Kenya.
And we must defend
Unless you're
it.
an American citizen.
And we must defend it.
At Uungwana, Kenya.
My birth certificate is here.
In Kenya?
In Kenya.
Yeah. On your birthday?
On my birthday.
January 7th.
January 7th.
Ken Njiru, my man from Uungwana, has showed up tonight to share our birthday today.
Yep.
And also talk issues without fear of favor. And I know you want to talk about cowards.
Yes,
the
cowards,
people
yes.
who are cowards out there.
Yeah.
Let's do that after the break,
Yeah,
Ken.
yeah.
Because, you know, these shensis.
Ushenzi. And we must fight it.
At Koinange Jeff is my Twitter handle. Let's use the hashtag Uungwana with a W.
Yeah, W.
2 U's.
Uungwana Kenya.
Not W, but W.
2 U's.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 U's.
Jeff Koinange Live
Yeah.
takes a break. We'll be back in a birthday moment. Happy birthday, brother.
Happy birthday, Jeff.